The Olympics are one of the oldest collections of competitive games known to exist. It has been played on all stages all across the world and has developed into one of the most competitive and most viewed spectator games of all time. It was not always so, however. These games first began a long time ago in a place called Olympia, Greece in 776 BC, where representatives from city-states like Athens and Sparta would compete against one another to honor the god Zeus. In Olympia, there were beautiful temples, sports arenas, landscapes, and training facilities where the best athletes in the nation were able to train and worship their god. The ancient Olympics were rather different from the modern games. There were fewer events and only 3 men who spoke Greek could compete, compared to now where any athletes from any country is allowed to participate. Some ancient events that we don't see today include horse and chariot races that would take place in an arena called the Hippodrome. Some games still common today are boxing, wrestling, javelin, long jump, and discus. There were also running events such as a stadium that lapped the stadium, very common to what the Olympics look like today. Each lap consisted of 200 meters, 400 meters, that went around in a long oval. The running events consisted of 200 meters, 400 meters, and a varying long distance runs that went from anywhere between 7 to 24 laps in length. One grueling event, the two stadium, athletes ran in 50 pounds of armor, showing their athleticism and potential as a soldier. Award ceremonies would take place on the final day of the games, where a herald would announce the name of the winner, their homeland, and place a sacred olive tree wreath on the winner's head as a sign of a champion. These nearly 2,800-year-old games were held every 4 years on the stage of Olympia for 12 centuries, until Emperor Theodosius of Rome attempted to change the pagan culture to Christianity in 393 AD. Theodosius ordered all the temples and arenas to be burned to the ground and did not allow anyone to speak of the games ever again. Over 1,000 years later, in 1569, a report of the Olympic Games was found in Marseilles, Italy, by a doctor named Girolamo Mercialia, in a book called De Arte Gymnastica. This is how the games became revitalized to the knowledge of the world. However, it wasn't until 1896 when Baron Pierre de Coubertin, a French educator and historian, persistently organized a meeting with 79 delegates representing 9 countries, was able to pitch the idea of reviving the Olympics on a worldwide level. The delegates of the conference voted unanimously for the Olympic Games to be reinstated and allowed Coubertin to construct an international committee to organize the Games. This committee then became the International Olympic Committee. Coubertin, being a historian, found Athens as the appropriate location for the revival of the Olympic Games. The first Games were hosted in Pantheon Stadium, where 14 nations and 241 athletes competed in 43 events. The following Games, in 1900, opened in Paris, where Games gained more support across Europe. In 1906, the Games were held in St. Louis during the World's Fair and was the first time women were allowed to compete in events. In 1921, the Olympics decided to hold a winter version of the Olympic Games, where events like figure skating and ice hockey were played. Since the revival in 1896, there has been plenty of expansion to the Olympic Games. In 1948, Ludwig Guttmann created a bid for the start of the Paralympic Games for soldiers coming home after World War II. In 2010, the Youth Olympic Games, where children ages 14 to 18 can compete on a worldwide level in both summer and Olympic Games. Although there have been many advancements in the sportsmanship and inclusion of all athletes for the Games, politics have had a major impact on many of the Games stages. Countries have attempted to send political messages throughout the competition in time to debate. Examples like the 1936 Berlin Games, when Jesse Owens, an African American, won 4 gold medals in front of Nazi Germany's propagandic and race superiority value culture, was able to deny their hopes of German domination. Although the Games started nearly 30 centuries ago, the values still remain. The Games provide evidence of the evolution of physical ability by people and encourage good sportsmanship between cultures and countries, growing from 241 participants representing 14 nations in 1896 to growing to about 10,500 competitors from 204 nations during the last Summer Olympics. It remains as a festival to celebrate competition and encourage progress. Whether that be the inclusion of all people, no matter what race, age, gender, circumstance, and culture, we all have the opportunity to compete against the best athletes in the world and continue the traditions of taking pride in athletics and our nation.